Hello, hello, everybody, and thank you for joining me today. It's Allan Laboucan with the Rocks and Stocks News Show. I've got a show I'm putting together today because we've got two of our website or our show sponsors that have come out with impressive news. I do a lot of homework before I invite companies to become sponsors of my website or my shows, and only got about a handful of sponsors, but they're great sponsors, and that homework pays off because is a day that two of those companies have been drilling and they came out with excellent results that I want to talk about. So I'm going to get right into it. The first company I want to talk about is a company I've talked about a lot in i-80 Gold. They're in Nevada. They have two world-class discoveries that they're moving towards production on. And I'm really impressed with the news coming out of Granite Creek. It's been very consistently hitting high-grade gold over a zone that is about 600 meters long from along strike and wide open, along strike to the north and to depth. And it's in the same kind of rock that the nearby mine, that's about a 20 million ounce mine, is mining. And it looks like they've got a multi-million ounce mine in the works here, turning it from discovery to production very rapidly. This is important because a lot of explorers out there, when they make a discovery, it still takes 7 to 10 years before they're ever going to put that into production. Because this was a historical producing mine with underground workings, they can quickly extend those workings down to their OG zone, which is right below the historical workings, and then move over to the South Pacific zone, which is right beside it to the north, and keep the mining going. What was really impressive about this results today from the OG zone was that 3 of the holes had a metal factor. I wrote it down earlier. Hole 47 hit 28.2 meters of gold over 28.2 grams of gold over 17.8 meters. That makes for a metal factor of 501 gram meters. This puts it right up there with the top results that you see in most of the exploration that's going on out there. Another hole, their hole 52, hit 39 grams of gold over 9.5 meters. That gives that a 370.5 gram meters. And then their hole 53 hit 20 grams over 21 meters for 424 gram meters. They say that anything over 100 gram meters is putting you in the top percentile. So these are well up there. And equally as important in that news release, if you scroll down, you'll see a cross section, and in that cross section, what you see below the underground workings is tremendous continuity of the high grade gold. They just keep on hitting hole after hole. And then on the right side of the picture, you see the start of the South Pacific zone. So you're only talking about 75, 80 meters from the OG zone over to the start of the South Pacific zone. And they also mentioned that the one hole they hit on was one of their deepest intersections of high grade. So this continues to show that it's wide open along at depth in the OG zone. So then you step over to the 80 meters away or so over to the start of the South Pacific zone, and it's got also tremendous continuity of high grade that is spread out over about the total length of the of the zone is about 88 or 700 meters along strike. There has been a historical hole that was about 1 kilometer beyond that that also hit high-grade gold. So this zone is wide open. It's in the exact same kind of rock as the nearby big mine at Turquoise Ridge, in the same kind of rocks, the same kind of geological structure. So, and Turquoise Ridge is a 20 million ounce gold deposit or something like that. So you're talking about elephant country here. And they just keep on hitting hole after hole after hole of extreme high grade. There was also some interesting news in the quotation from their senior geologist. He said, and I quote, "Drilling in the OG zone continues to intercept impressive high-grade mineralization over substantial widths." He goes on, "Results so far have demonstrated that the OG zone is comprised primarily of oxide mineralization, amenable to non-refractory processing. The OG and South Pacific zones remain open at depth, providing substantial upside and along strike, I would add," end quote. Why this is so important is that they can quickly put that OG zone into production and make a lot of money off of it because it's high grade and it's oxide mineralization. So this gives you the money, the free cash flow to build the underground workings at the OG zone, extend it over to the South Pacific zone, and then start banging away at the South Pacific zone for the foreseeable number of years. This is just a world-class project without a doubt at their Granite Creek project. And this isn't their only world-class project. They also have the Ruby Deeps project. And at Ruby Deeps, they've also hit extreme high grade over a substantial width, more than substantial. They're very thick hits of high grade. Then they continue to expand that Ruby Deep zone. Then up higher than that is their 426 zone that starts right near the Ruby Deep zone. And then as you go a little bit higher, you run into the historical mine pit. So it gives you easy access to that 426 zone. The Ruby Deeps will be right below that. Then they're finding other zones around that. So basically, this company has 2 world-class projects. And I also would add that at Ruby Hill project, they also are drilling into a CRD system with extreme high-grade zinc and other metals. And that looks like a tremendous discovery on its own. I mean, when Arizona Mining was bought out, they were bought out for about $1.5 billion for a CRD discovery that was the grades in this thing so far are multiples of the grades at the Taylor deposit that Arizona Mining found. So in I-80 Gold, you get 2 world-class gold projects plus a CRD kicker. This company is primed for success. I think that they're a multi-billion-dollar company. If you want to do some comparables out there, Newfound Gold doesn't have nearly the kind of high-grade continuity that the Granite Creek or Ruby Deeps project has, and they've got an $800 and some million valuation. And I-80 has a $579 million valuation. I would also add that Great Bear Resources was bought out for $1.8 billion, and they didn't have nearly the kind of high-grade continuity that both Granite Creek and Ruby Hill have in the gold. So, and then you get the CRD kicker. It's not very difficult for me to make the case that this company is tremendously undervalued. and they have the assets to grow into a multi-billion-dollar valuation company. It's not very often that you can find a company with a $579 million valuation that you can honestly say has 5x to 10x plus potential in it. But that's clear, and you don't need me to see that clarity. Go to their website, look at their news releases, look at the cross sections, look at the high grade continuity, look at the CRD grades, and also to do due diligence, go to my YouTube channel at Rocks and Stocks News, and you'll find a bunch of interviews that I've done with Ewan Downey from the company, who's very gracious with his time and says kind words about our show. So I really think that this is a core holding for investors that in gold that want not much downside risk with tremendous upside potential. So do your homework on i-80 Gold. They're one of my top gold picks. And then today, one of my favorite junior copper exploration companies, 9 Mile Metals, came out with exceptional news. Now, let's put this in context. The reason that I've originally invited 9 Mile Metals to be a sponsor of my show, that they were gracious enough to accept, was because they found this extreme high-grade lens of copper and zinc in a mining camp that's one of the top 3 in the world for VMS mines. So this is truly elephant country. And I'm going to get back to that lens, but I want to talk first about these results that they had today that really is a tremendous bonus for the shareholders. About 20 kilometers from that lens that first got me excited about the company, they had this other area that they call California Lake. At California Lake, there was a massive sulphide showing on the surface. Then they did the geophysics around that, and they found a string of geophysical anomalies, let's call it like a chain of pearls, right near that showing. And to add to that, then they've got the right kind of rock package that is well known in this area, hosting VMS deposits. So everything was lining up for them to do a discovery. But the challenging thing when you're drilling a new target is to hit what you're looking for. That's not always easy. And they have a company called EarthX Geophysical Solutions that are analyzing their not just their geophysics, but also their geological story to generate these targets. And so it stood out to me that this string of geophysical anomalies right beside a massive sulfide showing. But then you got to drill into that and find if there's massive sulfides underground. So they announced today that 9 Mile Metals drills VMS, copper, zinc, or copper, lead, zinc, gold, silver on its California Lake project. They talk about how their Megatem data that was interpreted by EarthX was what they were chasing, and they had hit, having established the base model, an 89-meter hole was drilled due west at a dip of 45 degrees, intersecting sulfides between 43 and 57 meters, including numerous zones of massive copper, zinc, lead, gold, and silver-bearing Bathurst mining camp style VMS mineralization as displayed in the 4 photos below. So then you look at the 4 photos and my gosh, I was just blown away. They have, it looks like just in the couple of core boxes, they have 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5 different zones of massive sulfide. Then the person holding the core shows that this is just practically solid massive sulfides. So, you know, this is very exciting for your first drill program into a brand new target. The picture, figure 2, also shows another intersection of this just solid massive sulfides. Then there's a quotation that I want to go read, and I quote, "We are pleased to confirm a VMS system on our California Lake project in our stage 1 drill program and add a viable VMS exploration project in 9 Miles portfolio. We are in the early stages of this drill program, but this further defines that our scientific leading edge technology exploration process continues to deliver results. We will continue to be driven by our unique exploration processes, and the next steps will be to measure, photograph, log, and cut the samples for our internal XRF screening process to identify the sample sections for certified lab analysis at ALS's global labs, North Vancouver, British Columbia. We look forward to reporting further results from our drill program at California Lake," end quote. And that was from Patrick Cruikshank, who's an MBA and CEO and director of 9 Mile Metals. Then there's 2 more core pictures. One of them you can see from the top down, another intersection with massive sulfides, practically just solid massive sulfides. And then they show you from the end of the core, and you can see again that not only is the outside solid, but you look inside and that's solid massive sulfides as well. Just tremendous stuff. Gary Lohman, he's quoted, he's their VP exploration and their QP geologist. He said, and I quote, "Our unique exploration project continues to be successful, and we look forward to completing our current drill program and reporting on additional results." So out of the blue comes California Lake. They have, where I said earlier, you can see clearly in the geophysics that they have a string of pearls of geophysical anomalies right beside where they found a historical showing of massive sulfides, and now they've drilled into massive sulfides. This is tremendously exciting stuff. I think that these results are going to run big time, and I think they've got a second tremendous discovery on their hands. Now, the original reason, so while this drilling is being completed at California Lake, and they await the assay results, and then I'm sure, based on this core, I'm sure that they're going to be going back to drill more there, but first they need to interpret everything, and then they'll bang away there, because I think they have multiple targets to drill in the right kind of rock, in the with the geophysical anomalies near this showing, and now these massive sulfide hits in the core. As I like to say, with the truth machine is showing that they're hitting massive sulfides. Before I leave California Lake, I also think it's important to point out, you know, when it comes to geophysics, I had a tremendous mentor in geophysics. He was the former head of exploration for worldwide exploration for Anglo. Anglo is one of the world's largest mining companies. Tremendously talented geophysicist. But he said to me, "Allan, you know, geophysics, they don't always work. So the first thing you want to find out with the truth machine is, are the geophysics working?" They certainly are working here. You can see the geophysical anomalies. We talked about it in the interview that I did with Patrick Cruikshank and Gary Lohman on my YouTube channel at Rocks and Stocks News. But secondly, and both of them wanted to point out that interpretation of the geophysics is also crucially important. You can have good geophysical anomalies, but you got to have the right people looking at that to interpret it. The guys and you got to do the right kind of surveys. So they've done the right kind of surveys. They got great guys at EarthX Geophysical Solutions that are interpreting the data, and you can see it with your own eyes when you look at the geophysical anomalies. There's a string of pearls of geophysical anomalies right beside this showing. So that tells you that the geophysics are working and the interpretation of those geophysics are working like a charm. And I'm tremendously bullish on this California lake discovery. Man, to hit massive sulphides like that in your first holes is a tremendous accomplishment, especially when you're looking at a camp like in New Brunswick, one of the elephant country, and now they've got a brand new discovery. I want to go back to the first thing that got me excited about 9 Mile Metals was that they found this lens with thick intersections of massive sulphides that returned exceptionally high grade. So that told me that that first of all, it has to have a source. And so then you look at the potential sources, and if you look at the geophysical rock, if you look at the rock packages in the area, just to the immediate east of that lens is a hinge in the rock package. And you can also see that clearly in the geophysics. Now, within probably a couple weeks, as they're wrapping up as they're doing the drilling at California Lake, they're waiting on another drill rig to get onto that lens, extending are searching around the lens for the source. I think the source is going to be in the hinge, and I think you've got the potential of finding other zones, possibly a magma chamber in between the lens and the hinge. The reason that I say that is I think that the hinge is the plumbing system for the lens. But what might have caused that lens is that sometimes when these massive sulphides are pumping up in a volcano, they can find a package of rock that is where you can get pooling of those fluids, those massive sulfide-bearing fluids. And then that package of rock will pool up, and then there's so much pressure that it'll blow open up further, closer to surface. And I think that is the kind of model that we are probably looking at here at the lens. And what makes it tremendously exciting is that lens is thick, over 10 meters thick, with extreme high grade. So that tells you that there has to be a high grade source of where that lens material came from. These are volcanogenic massive sulfide deposits. They come up in a volcano, the fluids come up in a volcano, and then when they get close to surface, they make their way into other kinds of rock. And so this lens tells you a lot about the entire system, the plumbing, where it came from, the kind of grades you can hope for. And these are the best grades that have ever come out of an elephant country mining camp. This is I'm just blown away with the quality of work that the guys at 9 Mile Metals are doing. And most importantly, what they're finding with the truth machine. And, if you start to apply what is known about volcanogenic massive sulfide deposition and structural story and a geophysical story, and it all points towards now it looks like these guys are onto two exceptional discoveries in this tremendously exciting mining camp. And who knows, maybe that lens in the plumbing system could be the crown jewel of the entire region. There's a lot of mines in this region, but none of them have ever seen the kind of grades that you find in this lens. And again, I would say that that lens is a reflection of what it came from. And with that exciting structural story of this hinge zone in close proximity and the potential for pooling in a massive sulfide chamber, these guys are on to something very impressive. And to only have, let me see what the valuation is as of today. It's up 4 cents, which is just remarkable. For it to be only up 4 cents is kind of a reflection of the skepticism in the market right now for mining related companies. But when you can buy an asset like this with an $18 million valuation and 2 massive sulfide discoveries in drilling in a elephant country mine, this offers tremendous opportunities for investors. And as always, do your homework. Go to my YouTube channel at Rocks and Stocks News, and you'll find the recent interview that I did with both Patrick Cruikshank, the CEO, and Gary Lohman, the QP geologist. And we talk about all this stuff. We talked about the likelihood of hitting at California Lake before it happened. And I think the same thing is going to happen at the lens area 20 kilometers away when they drill towards that hinge zone target. So if you're into copper, which I think investors should be, because, you know, this whole vehicle revolution is you need a lot of copper to make that revolution happen. And regardless of what's happening with the economies of the world, I think that the central bankers have overdone it on raising interest rates to fight inflation. I think that the pivot is coming soon. Some will say, well, won't that start an economic, or isn't the start of an economic slowdown happening? Yes, but what will happen is that the central bankers have overdone it on the raising of interest rates. And they are starting an economic slowdown. Not only do I think that the pivot's coming, but I think the next round of quantitative easing is coming. And when they try to stimulate the economy, guess where the first place they're going to try to throw money at? They all want this vehicle revolution of electric vehicles to happen, and it doesn't happen without copper. And so you know, these are all pointing towards a higher price of copper, but fundamentally, 9 Mile Metals has a tremendous new discovery and just a head-shakingly cheap valuation of only $18 million. I think they're onto something real big. I think i-80 Gold is onto something really big with their gold stuff in Nevada. And, you know, it's no coincidence that these two companies are both in elephant country. Nevada is one of the best places in the world to look for gold and gold mines. And in New Brunswick, near 9 Mile Metals area is elephant country for base metals. So, you know, it goes back to the old saying in the mining sector, a good place to look for a new mine is where there's old mines. And both these companies, i-80 Gold and 9 Mile Metals, are doing that. I'm planning to do interviews with the management of both. We're just trying to line times up that will work for myself and them. But stay tuned. I hope to have those shows ready for you in the next, hopefully by tomorrow at the latest, possibly later today. As I said, we're just lining things up for both companies. You know, as always, my shows are for information purposes only. It's important for you to do your homework, speak with your financial advisors. A great place to do that homework is again on my YouTube channel at Rocks and Stocks News. Go listen to the interviews that I've done with you and Downey at i-80 Gold, or Patrick and Gary at 9 Mile Metals. With 9 Mile Metals, I just started coverage of them recently when they became a sponsor. So we've only had one interview to date, but based on what I'm seeing with their drilling, we're going to have a lot of news release or a lot of interviews in the future, because I think these guys are onto something really great. So on that note, giving you a good copper story and a good gold story to go do your homework on. So go do that while you can still get these valuations at such ridiculously cheap prices. On that note, have a great day, and we will talk to you soon.